What up, yo? What up? What up? Good morning. Another edition of the Robin Lundberg Show here today, live and in full effect because WNBA ratings are out. And there's something about WNBA ratings to get the people going. I don't know what it means, but it's provocative, right? Like it gets the people going whenever there is ratings news released in the WNBA because it is a way for people to see the growth of the league. It is a way for people to push their agendas, and it is a way to bring Caitlin Clark into the conversation when she's not playing. You know, a lot of these things are simultaneous when it comes to that. So the Aces and the Mercury game one, fantastic game, right? Like it was a fantastic game. And it got a good rating. It got a very good rating, in fact. An excellent, objectively excellent rating. You can see there. So the most watched game one of the WNBA Finals in 28 years, behind only the 97 single game championship format. 1.9 million viewers, up 62% year over year from the Liberty and the Lynx last year, which was also a big jump. And here's what I got to say. Something about WNBA ratings brings out the stupid in people because the Aces and Mercury numbers are great. They're great. It was a great game, and it's awesome to see. But we have to stop taking random posts on social media as if they are popular opinion. When somebody goes, no one's going to watch the finals, it doesn't mean that's the actual sentiment. When someone goes, see, you don't need Caitlin Clark, that doesn't mean it's the actual sentiment. You know, there is no with and without Caitlin Clark. All of this is in conjunction with Caitlin Clark. Her impact, what she did to change the landscape, brings in a bunch of new eyeballs. And those new eyeballs, those Caitlin Clark fans who are supposedly so bad, are more responsible for the growth in the viewership of other games than any other factor. It's just common sense. A big new audience comes in and they stay. You know, Clark games do better than any other games. Fever games, even without Clark, do better than any other team. Everything else does better than it did before. The floor has been raised. Yeah, the ceiling may be higher when CC plays. In fact, you know, her last playoff game did a higher number than the WNBA Finals did. But if you were to go back to Michael, Magic, and Bird, I use the Jay-Z line, Michael, Magic, and Bird all rolled in one to describe her. If you were to go back to those days, Magic and Bird got the NBA off tape delay. Michael Jordan took it to another level. But the NBA didn't collapse and fall into, the depths of the earth when those guys left the league, or else their impact wouldn't have been lasting. It wouldn't have mattered. So in order for the rising tide to lift all boats, it can't just be one yacht that floats. And you now have seen the growth throughout the rest of the league where we should stop these silly games anytime the ratings come out because the ratings can now stand on their own. And that should be the case going forward where people don't have to try to get giddy throwing their own agenda in there. The Aces and the Mercury getting a big audience. Great to see. Salute to the WNBA where the trajectory continues to point up by any single metric, whether you're talking ratings, whether you're talking attendance, whether you're talking expansion, whether you're talking franchise value. And that's why we got these CBA talks going on right now. So there you have it. That's my spiel. That's my spiel on the whole thing. I like doing spiels to spill my spiel. You know, the ratings were good for the Fever Aces. I'm sure the game 2 will be down some, by the way, because it wasn't as good a game and it was on an NFL Sunday. That won't be anything to throw a party about either for anybody. You know, I say this for the Caitlin Clark fans too. It doesn't help Caitlin Clark if the numbers fall without her going forward. That doesn't help her legacy. It helps her legacy if the league grows as a result of her. That's what ultimately helps her legacy. So those were the numbers. That's what, the common sense story as far as I'm concerned. I don't think, it's not more. Everybody tries to make it so complicated. It's simple, stupid. It's simple, stupid. You know, so I don't know how the rest of it depends on how that goes for all sports, by the way. Depending on how the series goes, how competitive the games are, all those things contribute to whether or not the numbers do better or worse as the series goes along. Jackie Wilson, by the way, a lot of people, Jackie Wilson, Asia Wilson, and Jackie Young, they've been doing pretty well in that series. I'm surprised it's 2-0. I mean, it really, this is how games go too. When you go back and you actually analyze the games a little bit, you forget that, Alyssa Thomas misses those free throws at the end of game one. If not, that should be a 1-1 series. And we should be talking about, it through those contexts. And by the way, to what I was just saying, the numbers, here's the finals viewership. Look at this graph. This is kind of cool. So you see 2015, 571, 2016, 594, 2017, 568, 2018, 246, 2019, 238, 351, rough, 469 in 2021. Then it gets back to the numbers where it was, 555, 729. So some nice indications of growth there in the last couple of years. I mean, that 729, this is before Caitlin Clark. And she was in college, but it's also higher than those numbers back there. But then all of a sudden, Clark's rookie year, boom. The second year building on that, boom. That, is as good an indicator as you can see of overall league growth, those WNBA Finals numbers. And again, that's why you're in the contentious situation that you see right now, which isn't going away either. Satu Sabali talked about it. The players are getting asked about it at the WNBA Finals. Here's what Sabali said about Adam Silver, saying that the dialogue has gotten too personal.
It is very personal because the WNBA wants to forbid us to make a lot of more money than we're ever going to make here, what it seems like in other leagues. So it's very personal. People have families. This is our job. We make more money in China, Russia, Turkey than here. So it is very personal, and I don't think why it shouldn't become personal.
Very personal. Well, I don't think it should be personal. I think that is misguided from Sabali's case in order to get the best deal. I understand what she's saying. I'm not saying she's wrong, but I'm saying when you allow your personal feelings to bleed into that a little bit, it can muddy the waters. She also said this in response to the situation and the possibility of a lockout.
No, what's going to happen?
Well, collective bargaining, with contract, you might have a lockout.
I think I need to tie my shoelaces for tomorrow, and that's all my mind is on right now. But obviously, it will be very interesting to see if the league finally makes an effort into showing us that they value us, or seeing where their employees will go.
Seeing where their employees will go, meaning there's other options for the employees, and Unrivaled being one of them. And the Unrivaled thing, it's not made up anymore. I mean, the Unrivaled thing is clearly a part of these negotiations. And again, with the fee aspect and the Breanna Stewart aspect and the fact that the players are making more playing for Unrivaled, all of that does complicate things. It makes it sort of interesting from the outside looking in, but it also complicates things because people who have drummed up investments for Unrivaled are not going to want to accept terms where Unrivaled isn't a thing. At the same time, you would assume the WNBA, depending on how much it plans to increase salary, would then want to negotiate exclusivity into that. So those are all parts of the same thing. Those are all related, right? So, and with the finals being dominated by the talk about this stuff, that doesn't mean people won't. Sometimes there's a difference between, you know, what you might watch and what you like really want to discuss and talk about. You know, people were intrigued that Kathy Engelbert had a press conference leading in, all that stuff. There was a lot of attention. You watch the game. Great game. Stay on. I was captivated by game one down the stretch of that game. It was awesome. Game two, not so much. I would think the numbers reflect that. On a Sunday against the NFL, all that, I would think the numbers reflect that. So that's really the story there. I'll get to the comments in a minute. There was one other thing I put in the title, and that was where Caitlin Clark could play next. I mean, this is speculation in a sense, but based on what she said. If you recall, at the Fever exit interviews, Clark had mentioned that she was getting ready for some Team USA stuff, and that would be her priority. And Team USA, you know, remember notably, she didn't make the Olympic team. That was a bit of a story, but she is motivated to be a part of that going forward. Now, Sue Bird's in charge of that. Kara Lawson's the coach, and Caitlin Clark seems intent on being a part of the U.S. women's national team. Well, they hold a training camp, or they should hold a training camp around March. It's not scheduled right now, but to get ready for the World Cup qualifying tournament. The U.S. has already qualified for the World Cup, but they will be playing anyway. And the draw happened yesterday, meaning from March 11th to 17th, their group will play in San Juan, Puerto Rico, which means the next time we see Caitlin Clark play basketball could be in Puerto Rico as part of Team USA in March. If we're to take her comments as an indicator and knowing where Team USA will be playing. Now, she has not been officially named as part of that roster or officially confirmed as a participant in that tournament, but that's at least the best way to read the tea leaves around CC. So there's that aspect of things as well. Because, you know, I really do believe that next iteration of the U.S. women's Olympic team will be a real big deal. I really do. I think, you know, it's kind of like the Dream Team was back in 92 for the men in Barcelona. Because it will represent that new guard. It will represent the turnover in roster, the players that have sort of captivated everybody's attention and imagination. The star power will feel great, even if the team has been dominant. This is what I was talking about. As you can see. But she said it herself. She said it herself. I don't know how those games will be broadcast and covered and all that. That's still up in the air. By the way, Caitlin Clark had a photo op with Adam Sandler. You see? He was wearing the Fever stuff. Here with the clock. I got from the logo, it's the Sandman and the Fever. You know, more or less. That was two pretty popular folks. All right, I'm going to get to the comments in just a second. I want to plug one other thing. Like I said, I will be on Busted Open Radio covering pro wrestling this weekend for Crown Jewel on Saturday morning from 9 to noon on Sirius XM Eastern Time. But I do have the Ring Rascals with my my kids. We filmed a video last night, so I'll plug that real quick. If you guys haven't seen it, play it for you. This is where you can follow the Ring Rascals and check them out. Here's the clip from yesterday. There's a tag team called the Hardy Boys who've been around for a long, long time. And they won something called the NXT tag titles. For those of you not familiar, NXT is the WWE development brand that's become a brand of its own. And they're going to have a match at TNA, I believe, with the Dudley Boys. So a lot of throwbacks, a lot of nostalgia, and they throwing the Hardy Boys into the mix in modern times. So I asked my kids what they knew about the Hardy Boys. So the Hardy Boys are NXT champions. What do you guys know about the Hardy Boys?
The Hardy Boys were in a tables and ladders and chair match. They're crazy, especially Jeff.
Oh my God! And for the 20-foot ladder with the spear of Jeff Hardy. For the love of God, Jeff Hardy may be broken, smack dab in half.
So I think they're one of the greatest tag teams of all time. And they had like a big TLC match at WrestleMania 17 against Edge and Christian and the Dudley Boys. And I know Jeff Hardy was like the Jey Uso, the Youth Discretion era. And he like won the Spinal Belt, the belt that John Cena had. And he like drew it CM Punk and Edge and those guys.
There you have it. The Hardy Boys bringing generations together. Frankly, I'm surprised they made it this far.
I'm eating away!
And I got to tell you, one of the great joys I have in life is the bond I have with my kids through wrestling when we will watch a wrestling event together. That really started back in COVID, in the previous apartment I lived in, where I'd thrown on a random Royal Rumble for whatever reason. And Raj, my oldest, was like, "What is this?" And then we went and watched all the Royal Rumbles, and Ronnie started getting into it, and we would play Royal Rumbles in the adjoining room with the entrance music and all the 30 participants, and we throw each other out. And then Big Ro, who's the youngest, he's really taking a liking to wrestling. He's a big wrestling fan. So we went to SummerSlam, and I just thought I'd share. You guys can check it out. All right, I'll get to the comment section now, because that's really all I got. I'm not going to hang out for too long today. We'll see on the rest of the week. Like I said, I'll do shows as often as I can, and that I'll keep the time slot as consistent as I can, and make sure I give you guys as much notice as I can. That is only fair. Hit me up with your comments, suggestions, thoughts, member chats, super chats. We get a lot of member chats every day. Y'all are slacking on the super chats, though. I got to say, that's what happens when I'm a man of the people. Kentucky Rick says, live in 90 minutes. I'm a little early. Thanks for being on early today, Kentucky Rick. Savage Coffee Tea says, morning. So does Carol. Are any of you watching the finals? Carol asks. Some people definitely watching the final. So and again, like I said, here's when someone writes a comment and says they're not doing something or whatever, or a bunch of people do it on social media, that doesn't mean it's actually the prevailing notion. That's what I was trying to get across. And anybody's entitled to watch or not watch what they want to watch, or express or not express what they feel about it. That's not my point. My point is, sometimes people see that stuff on social media and they act like that means it's how real people are acting. Because the real story is the attendance. The real story is the ratings. The people that are paying their money to go in seats. The people that are putting on the TV. Not the people who are complaining online. Especially like Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. That's my favorite app. I've used it. I love it. I'm not even complaining about it. But the vast majority of people who are consuming these things are not there. The vast majority. So when we see these storylines that become like A-block headlines based off of a group of tweets, it's such a gross representation of what the actual feeling might be. And that's what I was trying to say. Savage Coffee Tea, I must admit, did not think the viewership was going to be that high. Mostly happy for the WNBA, but have to admit, a little viewership karma would have played out. Wished a little viewership karma would have played out. I mean, but again, that doesn't... I know Caitlin Clark fans feel wronged. I do. I get that. But it doesn't help her in the long run. The best thing for her legacy in the long run is for the WNBA to go to a whole nother level. He says he doesn't have the interest in watching the finals, doesn't like the personalities of the top two stars. Carol says, I hate the Mercury. Also, want to see AT on her ass again. So you're hate watching it. You know? Yeah, the Fever Aces ratings were out. They did well. Not as well as that. Fever Aces ratings were in that range. Let me see what they were. The series averaged 1.56 million viewers. The most watched semifinals ever. Stern, a.k.a. Chris, says the league is growing. This is not a shock. The only people hating don't watch the league. You know, well, I also think for the people that hated on the Caitlin Clark fans, that's so stupid because they are responsible for this growth more than anything else. More than any other. There are other factors, but they are the biggest factor, the biggest change, the biggest variable difference. So they get like shunned for being new fans or for how some randos behave online when they're the ones that have brought, so much attention to every other team and every other player. Member chats, super chats go first. Please like and subscribe. Carol liked the video of the Ring Rascals. Diana says, tried to interest my daughter in wrestling. Even at age 5, she thought it was Neanderthal. And when I introduced her to boxing, she probably wanted to call Child Protective Services on us. Well, boxing is a rough sport. That's for sure. I'm watching the WNBA Finals, but was unhappy admitting it. Satu is a surprise. Calm down. Oh, you're telling Satu to calm down. David says to help clean up the WNBA, they need to fire Monty McCutcheon. Monty McCutcheon's in charge of the refs. Ronald Bolton, not a member chat or a super chat, but the sentiment that I was going after, it brought me here. Love the W now. Twitter X is the source for other creators. They swear they make a video per tweet. Yeah, I mean, look, I should probably get back to making a few more standalone videos myself, but working on something that's taking up a lot of time. And you also have there's peace of mind factors that play into this as well. I'm actually kind of proud of myself for being as consistent as I've been with these lives. Thank you all for showing up, of course. I'm starving. Haven't eaten yet today. Gonna go eat in a second. But yeah, I don't have I'm not gonna just stay on for the sake of staying on. I think some of these can be longer or shorter than others, depending on what there is to say and what you guys want to say. So get those member chats and super chats in right now. I will take a few more comments and then sign off. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, make sure you do all those good things. Rick T says, I hope CC gets more appreciation from the league next season. I could just go off on her scoring and passing without getting assaulted. KDB says, both sides are so extreme. Caitlyn games do better, but non-Caitlyn games don't do bad anymore. Both these things can be true at once. Exactly. Charles T. Perhaps some players are not differentiating action/words that may impact you personally. Yeah, versus what is actually personal. Anything that's impacting your bottom line, I guess, is impacting you personally, but it doesn't mean it's personal. I think ultimately I'll take Adam Silver at his word that he said they'll get a deal. I believe him. Oh, this is a nice message in a sense. Element says, you're doing great. I did not want to get up this morning, saw your notification and said, oh, well, I guess I'll get after it today. I'm glad I'm up and moving now. Glad I could get you up and moving. Appreciate that. We all have those days. We all have those days. Trust me. And then what goes on up here, certainly not immune, if you will, from this perspective either. But do appreciate all y'all. Any more member chats, super chats, hurry up, get them in, get those likes, get those subscribes in, because gonna bounce here in just a second. I think I got a request. What does that say? Portnoy. Look, I mean, the fact that Portnoy is talking about the WNBA is another. That's the thing. Like, how often were Stephen A. Smith, Dave Portnoy, Colin Cowherd, whoever else talking about the WNBA before? Ever, in any context. I mean, the most attention I remember the WNBA getting in my time doing this professionally before the last couple of years was Brittany Griner. And obviously that was like a geopolitical sort of story versus anything that had to do with really basketball. And now, it got less mainstream attention this year with Clark's sideline, but it's still in the zeitgeist. The Kathy Engelbert thing became a big story. Which goes to show you where it's at right now. And that ties back into the ratings. There's a good way to bring it full circle. The WNBA has arrived. That's why it would be stupid for them to not come to an agreement, to not continue this momentum. And it's common sense what's happened. What the catalyst for it was and what the lasting effects of it can be. And really, that's the moral of the story and the full summary. So until the next one, y'all, eat.